Good morning again, everybody. You know, we're different. Now, as I say this, I see some people looking around saying, finally, after all these years, this guy's going to admit it. Well, folks, I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about us. Your co-op, NewMac Electric, the one that you and I proudly own. My wife Becky and I, like all of us in this room, buy our power from NewMac Electric. In the business model we operate under, that makes all of us owners of the co-op. People who buy their power from cities or investor-owned utilities, they are customers. But we, as owners, we set the direction of how this cooperative operates. I want to talk about that some more this morning. I want to start at the beginning. These film clips that I want to show you are from a rural electric film that was made all the way back in the 1950s.
Handling feed for the livestock was the same story. Long hours of backbreaking work. Hard work wasn't limited to the men folks. Farm women and children all had to pitch in to get the farm and household work done. Wood, chopped and split by hand, stoked the kitchen stove. Water came from the well. Johnny had to pump and pump and pump. Even feeding the poultry was no easy job. No wonder farmers and their wives grew old before their time. But hard work wasn't all. Most farmers didn't mind that too much. What bothered them more was that they got so little in spite of all their work. And what they got they had to spend right away to keep farm operations going or to meet mortgage payments. Many farmers sold out and moved to town or to other farm areas in the hope that they might do better. Some even lost their farms and had to move. Farm boys left home to hunt jobs in the city, even though it broke their parents' hearts. And the children, well, they couldn't understand why farm life was so different from city life.
Mother, why can't we get an iron like this one?
Well, honey, that's an electric iron, and we don't have electricity.
Folks in town like Aunt Sarah have electric lights and irons. Can't we ever get some of those things? Can't we ever have electricity?
Can't we ever have electricity? That was the big question on farms all over America. When farmers asked that question, they were told, it's too costly, it's impractical, or sometimes you wouldn't use electricity much if you had it anyway. Each year, the question grew bigger and bigger. Each year, the need for electricity on the farm became more obvious. To increase efficiency, to lower operating costs, to meet the demands of an increasingly competitive marketing system. Farm organizations insisted that something be done. Lawmakers wrestled with the problem. American farms faced disaster. Electricity could be a big step in saving these farms. State and national leaders demanded action. And finally, there was action. In 1935, a rural electrification program was provided for by executive order signed by President Roosevelt under the Emergency Relief Act. Thus was created the Rural Electrification Administration, commonly known as REA. This was the start, but very little happened. Rural electric lines were started in only a few areas. Rural America was still in the dark. Something else had to be done. In the Tennessee Valley area, farmers' electric cooperatives had begun to show a workable way. Congress acted in May 1936. The Norris-Rayburn Bill made REA an independent agency to lend money at fair interest to private companies, public power districts, and rural electric cooperatives to finance electric projects.
From the Rural Electrification Act passed by Congress, cooperatives like NewMac were formed all over the United States. NewMac was formed in 1939 by folks who were tired of not having the modern conveniences many other people enjoyed. The farms and homes of 1939 in southwest Missouri were much different than they are today, as we just saw in that film clip. Efficiency was exceptionally poor, and folks had to work day and night just to accomplish what could be done in only a few hours on a farm that had electricity. And I think Thomas Edison, the man who helped develop the light bulb, said it best when he said, "Discontent is the first necessity of progress." The original planners of your co-op got enough friends and neighbors together to become members of the cooperative to get it off the ground. Little by little, enough names were gathered and money was collected to make the dream of electricity on the farm become a reality.
So America's rural electric systems were born. In true democratic fashion, farmers elected their own directors and officers. They signed up as members because they had faith in cooperation as a practical way to get things done, to get electricity. Many of them went from place to place getting other farmers to sign up until there were enough to meet REA's requirements. Committees went to work. They hired engineers to draw up plans and surveys. They figured out where their lines would be built and secured right-of-way agreements from property owners. They asked REA to help in planning and got it. They applied to REA for loans and they negotiated for purchase of electric power. These were busy days, active days, many things to decide, many things to do, but the farmers got them done.
And then it happened. Light. February 14th, Valentine's Day, 1940. The first line was energized. It was located just south of Neosho, or in today's terms, just south of the Neosho Walmart. Yes, electricity had finally arrived in rural southwest Missouri. NUMAC Electric was officially on its way, and the future definitely looked bright. But trouble was brewing, not in Missouri, not in southwest Missouri, but across the ocean.
We interrupt this program to bring you the following news flash from Washington. Pearl Harbor in Hawaii has been attacked by Japanese bombers. Great loss of life is reported, as well as destruction of many U.S. warships. President Roosevelt has called a joint session of Congress for tomorrow. We return you now to your regularly scheduled program.
Thus, suddenly, grimly, America was plunged into war.
We, in fact, were at war. All work of building out the cooperative came to a screeching halt as all the critical material used for an electric system had to be used for a war effort. But after the war, construction resumed. And some 72 years later, we become stronger each and every year. Through the good and the bad, the ice storms, the wars, and the tornadoes, this co-op has stood tall and proud. It's always been that spirit of ownership that binds us together. The first manager of this cooperative was Claude Langley. He was followed by Cal Lavender, and after Mr. Lavender was J.F. Lauterbach. After Mr. Lauterbach was Lee Embry, then Jim Russell, and Bill Chabot. In 1998, almost 20 years ago, I became the 7th manager of NUMAC Electric. And it's been a pleasure working here, and it's been an honor to continue the tradition of member ownership and the cooperative spirit that was embraced by each of these great men. The spirit of member ownership is epitomized by the 7 cooperative principles, the guiding light that co-ops all across this country follow. Those are voluntary and open membership to all, democratic control by you, the member owner, economic participation by each member, autonomy and independence, providing education, training, and information, cooperation among cooperatives, and lastly, concern for community. The heritage of member ownership continues here today, not only in the business part of this meeting, but what I'm about to tell you. Because today, for the 20th consecutive year, we are returning capital credits to you totaling approximately $1.25 million this year. Now, this retirement represents 30% of the margins from 1998 and will go to members from that year. Between capital credit retirements and rate abatements, we have returned over $24 million to you, our members, over the past 20 years. I'll have to tell you, I'm really proud of that. It truly demonstrates member ownership in action. Our nation's 16th president, Abraham Lincoln, once said, "Whatever you are, be a good one." Well, folks, among electric co-ops, NUMAC was definitely a good one last year. The co-op financial report in your annual meeting material shows another rock-solid financial year. The annual report for 2016 shows NUMAC had almost $41 million in sales, net margins of just over $4.3 million, and operating margins just over $2.8 million. And total co-op assets have grown to nearly $111 million. Now here's some more financial news. You've heard my updates in the past that NUMAC continues to receive rate increases from our wholesale power suppliers, Associated Electric in Springfield and KMO Power in Veneta. In fact, next year we will face increased costs between $2 and $2.5 million, mainly from cost increases from KMO. Now, by the way, over the past 15 years, KMO has invested over $500 million. Now, I'm going to say that again, $500 million, I'm saying B, in transmission system improvements, and for one very important reason, to make sure your electric supply is secure and it's reliable. So what about our rates next year? Well, like I said earlier, it's a bit too early to say for certain, but for 2018, it does look likely that we'll have to have a general rate increase. Year after year, you know I've made a promise to you, and I'm going to do it again right now. We will never raise your rates until we absolutely have no other choice. If there is any way possible, we always try to put off a rate increase. That's what we did in 2017. But folks, I don't know that we'll have that option next year. We'll know more details when we go through our budget process in December. If we have an increase, it would be effective January 1st, and it would show up on the bill you receive in February. As always, we'll be totally open with you about it, and we'll give you more details about the 2018 rates in the co-op newsletter that goes out next January. Now, at these annual meetings, I like to keep you up to date about environmental issues. You probably already know that the new Trump administration has repealed many of the previous administration's environmental regulations. In fact, the new EPA administrator, Scott Pruitt from Oklahoma, spoke at one of Associated's power plants this past April, and I was at that meeting. At that meeting, he said, "The war on coal is over." Now, we're very blessed to have many sources of power available to us. More and more of our electricity now comes from a well-diversified mix of coal and natural gas, plus renewable energy sources like wind power, hydropower, and solar power. Along with managing future power resources, helping young people become tomorrow's leaders continues to be a priority for us here at NUMAC. This year, for the second year in a row, we joined with hundreds of other co-ops around this country by sending 2 local high school students on an expense-paid trip to the National Co-op Youth Tour in Washington, D.C. This year, our representatives were Emily Horine from Seneca and Kobe Kissling from Sarcoxy. We also sent 2 local high school students to Jefferson City this year as part of our statewide Co-op Association's Cycle program. Madison Wade from Seneca and Michael Lee from Sarcoxy joined other students from around the state, helping better understand how government and electric cooperatives work together. Congratulations to all those students for a job well done. Now, folks, as we look back over the past year, we have to mention a couple of bad storms that we dealt with and some serious power outages that were caused by them. Now, you remember all the damage, broken poles, and downed power lines from the Goodman tornado. Even the school was destroyed, but thankfully, there was no loss of life. And then think back to late April, the continuous heavy rains both in Newton and McDonald County, some of the worst flooding in our history. Now, you have to understand just how dangerous it is to restore power when you're working around floodwaters. Our crews are some of the best there are. It took several days to get the power restored, but we did it. And more importantly, we did it safely. I hope you are noticing the updates that we are making at our co-op offices. We're modernizing the office lobbies to provide you with even better member service. Plus, we've added more truck bays at Anderson so we can get more of our equipment in out of the weather. I'm proud to say it's been a really productive year at NewMac Electric. I'm especially proud that we have worked safely. I thank God for that every single day. I'd like you to see some of the video highlights of the system work we have accomplished this past year.
At NewMac Electric, we have a heritage of ownership, and that drives us to provide our member owners with the best possible service. Reliable electric service starts with maintaining infrastructure. This past year, we replaced 31 miles of electric line with new poles and conductor in areas such as Surcoxie, Pierce City, and Fairview. Around Neosho and Sweetwater, we changed out approximately 600 poles. We also continue to install new meters throughout our system, which will help identify reliability issues and aid in power restoration. Right-of-way maintenance, though, is key to providing reliable service, especially for a rural electric cooperative with nearly 3,000 miles of line. In 2017, our right-of-way spending is expected to reach an all-time high of approximately $3.2 million. Since our last annual meeting, we have performed right-of-way clearing along the north, east, and west feeder lines coming out of our Diamond Grove substation, which serves the areas of Saginaw and Diamond. We also cleared the north, south, east, and west feeders out of our Walkerville substation, which serves the areas of Seneca, Westview, and Hart. And we systematically work to keep right-of-ways clear through low-volume spraying, which this past year was performed along the lines coming out of the Goodman and Sims substations, serving Jacket, Powell, Roller, Sims, Goodman, and McNatt. And we're pleased to report we accomplished all of this while working safely. At NewMac Electric, safety is always our top priority. In March, we used NewMac University to share that message when Pike Electric put on a live line safety demonstration for area emergency personnel and the general public. Members also benefited from additional NewMac University classes held on a range of topics at both our Neosho and Anderson offices. Our membership continues to take advantage of our online resources. In February, we launched a mobile-friendly, easier-to-navigate redesign of newmac.com. The majority of accounts are now registered for online services through our website or the Smart Hub mobile app. Another popular service is the automated pay-by-phone line, which is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And both the pay-by-phone and online billing services are made available to you at no additional charge. At NewMac Electric, we want you to see the cooperative difference that starts with you, our members, and a heritage of ownership.
Josh King put that video together. I thought he did a great job. We have been able to accomplish a lot this past year, and I think it's clear that your NewMac employees deserve our appreciation. Will all the employees please stand? Let's give them a round of applause. It's an honor to work with this great group of employees. It's also an honor and a privilege to work with your NewMac Electric Board of Directors. For their hard work and dedication, I think we need to recognize your NewMac Electric Board of Directors. And once again, I'd like to thank the great folks here at Crowder College who work hard each and every year to make this day happen. Let's recognize them. In closing, I want to promise you we're never going to forget our heritage of ownership. And as we look forward, we will forever remember those who came before us and the sacrifices they made so we can be the cooperative we are today. Folks, it's the cooperative difference. It's truly by the people, for the people.
Rural electrification has made a better way of life for all.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.